1 Samuel. Yeah, my son, he has 5 kids, and he named his number 4 child Samuel. And then he had another son after that, and he had a chance. I thought it was a fine time to name him 2 Samuel. I thought it'd be perfect. He wouldn't do it. And instead he named him after his favorite scotch, Macallan. Good choice too, I mean, but still. Okay, we're on chapter 13 of 1 Samuel. Verse 1 says, Saul was 40 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 32 years over Israel. Okay, there's a problem here with this verse. It seems to be missing something or lacking in the Hebrew text. Look how other translations translate this particular verse. New King James, Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel. Then Young's literal translation says, a son of a year is Saul in his reigning, yea, 2 years he hath reigned over Israel. Young's literal is a good, it's a pretty good translation. It tries to be very literal, but it tends to go a little Kingeth Jameth a little bit, Jameseth. I don't know which one's correct, but you can see what they did here is that they added, you see, when they're italicized like this, they added this in here. Saul was 40 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 32 years over Israel. Okay? I'm sure they pieced that together from other parts of Scripture. I don't think it's a big deal. I just thought it was really strange. It doesn't happen like that very often. Go on to 1 Samuel 13, verses 2 through 4. Now Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel, of which 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash, in the hill country of Bethel, while 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibeah of Benjamin. But he sent away the rest of the people, each to his tent. Excuse me, I took a drink of coffee, and I can feel a bubble wanting to jump out at me, so if you get sound effects here, hang on. Verses 3 and 4, and Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines. It was in Gibeah. And the Philistines heard of it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout the land, saying, let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard the news that Saul had smitten the garrison of the Philistines, and also that Israel had become odious to the Philistines. The people were then summoned to Saul at Gilgal. So Saul chose 3,000 men for his army. He had 2,000 with him at Michmash, and 1,000 were with Jonathan, his son, at Gibeah or Geba. So this is Michmash here, and then Geba. They're real close to each other. So his son Jonathan is not far away from him. And he sent everyone else home. Now Jonathan killed an officer of the Philistines. Israel was hated by the Philistines, but this act enraged them. Today they don't have Philistines. Today they have Palestinians. They seem to hate Israel just like the Philistines did. Oh, what happens? What does Palestinian mean? If you were to look that up in the dictionary, what would it say? You know what it would say? I'll tell you what it would say. It would say a Philistine. That's what it says.
Modern day.
Modern day Philistines. That's where the Palestinians came from. Enemies of Israel from the very beginning. They're going to be the enemies of Israel at the very end. Okay? Just like the rest of the Arab nations. Well, word of their anger towards Israel got to Saul. So Saul summoned the people of Gilgal. Gilgal, about 20 miles away, that's up here. Verse 5, now the Philistines assembled to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people like the sand which is on the seashore in abundance. And they came up and camped in Michmash east of Bethaven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, for the people were hard pressed, then the people hid themselves in caves and thickets and cliffs and cellars and in pits. Also some of the Hebrews crossed the Jordan into the land of Gad and Gilead. But as for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling. Yeah, the Philistines had 30,000 people, 6,000 chariots, horsemen. The number of the army, they said, looked like the sand on the seashore. Men of Israel, they were scared, they were frightened. They went and hid themselves. Can't say I blame them. What, we got 2,000 to 30,000? Now Saul stayed at Gilgal, but the men who stayed with him, scared to death, trembling. Verses 8 and 9. Now he, being Saul, waited 7 days, according to the appointed time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattering from him. So Saul said, bring to me the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. Anybody see a problem here?
Yeah, he's not supposed to do that.
He can't do that. Yeah. Well, he's not supposed to do that. You're right. He can do it if he wants to condemn himself. See, apparently Samuel agreed. He said, I'll be in Gilgal in 7 days. And then Samuel, who is a priest, I would say high priest at this time, would offer burnt offerings and peace offerings. That was the same agreement that was made at Saul's inauguration, that Samuel would do this. That's back in 1 Samuel 10, verse 8. You shall go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down to you to offer burnt offerings and sacrifice peace offerings. You shall wait 7 days until I come to you and show you what you should do. Well, Saul became impatient. Well, it's the 7th day. I don't see him anywhere. So I'm just going to do these sacrifices myself. You know, if you don't do something the way Elohim says to do it, you're better off not doing it at all. Okay? That's just a fact of the matter. If you're going to do something for the Father, do it the way He says to do it. All right? 1 Samuel 13, starting at verse 10. Came about as soon as he finished offering the burnt offering, and behold, Samuel showed up. Well, I'll be darned. Works that way, doesn't it? And Saul went out to meet him and to greet him. But Samuel says, what have you done? Saul said, well, because I saw the people were scattering from me, and you didn't come within the appointed days, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash. Therefore I said, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I've not asked the favor of Yahweh. So I forced myself and offered the burnt offering. Samuel knew what Saul did was an abomination, a complete abomination. Saul said his men were scattering. Samuel's like, getting there. Our birds' heads are falling off. All things are bad. Nothing's going right here. So he offered the offerings to Elohim. We can't come to Elohim on our own terms. Okay? We only come to him on his terms. Saul was not willing to wait on Elohim. Verse 13. And Samuel said to Saul, you've acted foolishly. You've not kept the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now, Yahweh would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. Saul did not heed the leadership that Elohim has put in place. It's not Saul's job to perform offerings. It was the priests who do this. You know, this is kind of like that rebellion in Korah. When Korah said all of Israel is chosen by Elohim and that Moses and Aaron are no different than them. This was an abomination to Elohim. Numbers 16, the first 3 verses. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and on the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took action. And they rose up before Moses, together with some of the sons of Israel, 250 leaders of the congregation, chosen in the assembly, men of renown. They assembled together against Moses and Aaron, and said to them, you have gone far enough. For all the congregations holy, every one of them, and Yahweh's in their midst, so why do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of Yahweh? because Elohim appointed them to be the head. And he challenged that. He and 250 other leaders of Israel challenged that. They didn't think that was the case. You know, things aren't going right here. We've been in this wilderness for years. I think we need different leaders. Well, you know, lean not upon your own understanding and all that jazz. All right? That makes sense to you, but Father says differently. No. So what happens? Elohim says, okay, meet back in front of the tent of meeting here tomorrow. We'll discuss this further. So everyone gets in front of the tent of meeting tomorrow. He says, I want everybody who was in that little group of 250, get your families together. Y'all gather together. Go ahead and look like a small army here so you can show me what needs to happen. So they all gather up and get their families all together there, and the earth goes, whoa, opens up, slams shut again. There. Anybody else want to try and be leader over Moses and Aaron? Oh, no hands went up. Well, I'll be. Okay. We can't come to Elohim on our terms, okay? It's his terms only. His terms. So I find that interesting. What day does Christianity meet? Sunday. Why? Why?
Because the sun god.
The sun god meets then, yeah. You know, don't they read the top 10? Well, the top 10's written in there a couple times. What's the number 4? Remember the Sunday to keep it holy? Is that what it says? The day of the sun god, keep it holy? Is that what it says? No. Well, now that's just a little bit change, you know. A little change in the day, a little change in leadership. You say priests do the offerings, but I did the offerings. Just so the offerings are done, right? That's what's important. Just so you pick a day of the week to worship, that's what's important, right? You know what's important? Is that we worship the Father the way he says to. That's what's important. That's what's important. 1 Samuel 13, verses 14 through 16. But now your kingdom shall not endure. Yahweh sought out for himself a man after his own heart. And Yahweh has appointed him as ruler over his people, because you have not kept what Yahweh commanded you. And Samuel rose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people who were present with him, about 600 men. Now Saul and his son Jonathan and the people who were present with them were staying in Gibeah of Benjamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. Elohim, he seeks men after his own heart. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means to obey all of Elohim's commands. That's what it means. In Acts 13, verse 22, we read, and after he had removed him, he raised up David to be their king, concerning whom he also testified and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, who will do all my will. Well, now he's quoting 1 Kings here. He didn't quote it all. In 1 Kings 15, verse 5, because David did what was right in the sight of Yahweh, and had not turned aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, except in the case of Uriah the Hittite. There's just one little thing, okay? Oh yeah. It's the adultery thing and the murder thing. Boys will be boys, I guess, huh? No. Now, keep in mind, Elohim, David's still a chosen man. He's still a chosen man, and he was called a man after Elohim's own heart. But he's a murderer and an adulterer. Doesn't that kick him out of the kingdom? Doesn't that disqualify him? No, it does not. You're not a part of the kingdom because of what you do and don't do. You're part of the kingdom if he chooses you. Just like inviting someone over to your house, your home little kingdom. They come in the house if you invite them in. Well, the Father's the same way. And he knows who he's choosing. Matter of fact, he knew every one of us before the foundation of the world. He knows who's a part of his kingdom and who isn't. That's not fair, is it? That's not fair. What if you're not chosen to be a part of that kingdom? Have you thought about that? I have. And I came to the conclusion years ago. If the Father doesn't want me to be a part of his kingdom, he's correct. If he does want me to be a part of his kingdom, he's correct. He's correct in whatever choice he makes. Okay? And that's whatever he decides is what needs to happen. You know, David, because of this little minor incident with murder and adultery, he didn't have a peaceful day in his life after that. No peace for David. He was running, looking over his shoulder the whole time afterwards. Who was after him? His own son. And also the Philistines and others. Saul was after him. Yeah. Peace eluded him because of that. He paid a price. Oh, yeah, and he also lost his son. Firstborn of him and Bathsheba. Yeah, died. So there's a big price he paid for all this. But David prayed all night for the life of his son. How come Elohim didn't spare his life, spare his baby's life? So did he not forgive David? Oh yeah, I believe he forgave him. That doesn't mean, whoop, okay, all there, it's all blotched out. No. You know, like if I back into Chris's car leaving the parking lot here. Oh, Chris, forgive me. Oh, yeah, okay, you're forgiven. Woo, thank you. I'm gone, right? He forgave me, so I can leave. No, there's consequences still that have to be paid for, okay? There's still a price to pay, and David paid that price. Going back to 1 Samuel 13, verse 17, and the raiders came from the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned toward Ophrah, and I read that, I thought it said Oprah. And I thought, oh no. But it's Ophrah. Backward spells Harpho. You may or may not get that. To the land of Shual, and another company turned toward Beth Horon, and another company turned toward the border which overlooks the valley of Zeboim toward the wilderness. Now no blacksmiths could be found in all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make swords or spears. Okay, so the Philistines broke up into 3 companies. They went to Ophrah, Beth Horon, and the valley of Zeboim. And they made sure that Israel couldn't make swords or spears because they didn't let them have blacksmiths to make any of that. That was pretty smart on their part. Verses 20 through 23. So all Israel went down to the Philistines, each to sharpen his plowshare, his mattock, his axe, and his hoe. And the charge was 2/3 of a shekel for the plowshares, the mattocks, the forks, and the axes, and to fix the hoes. So it came about on the day of battle that neither sword nor spear was found in the hands of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan, but they were found with Saul and his son Jonathan. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the pass of Michmash. Israel sharpened their farm implements. That's what they did. That's what they're going to use in battle. And they went down to the Philistines. And apparently these Philistines were not going into battle that they're going to. And the Philistines charged them to sharpen their equipment. Going on to 1 Samuel 14, verse 1. Now the day came that Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who was carrying his armor, come and let us cross over to the Philistines' garrison that is on the yonder side. But he did not tell his father. You know, it could be said this is the beginning of the end for Saul, because he's already been told, your kingdom's over with, okay? Your reign is done. He doesn't give up, though. But he was just rejected by Elohim. You know, it's amazing. You could go online, I like to put graphics in here, and I looked up Philistine garrison, and someone had set up these little army men of Philistines. I thought, why, heck, I'll use that. Remember, he was just told too, the last chapter, you've acted foolishly. You've not kept the commandment of Yahweh, your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now Yahweh will have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not endure. So that's it. That's it. 1 Samuel 14, verses 2 through 4. And Saul was staying in the outskirts of Gibeah under the pomegranate tree, which is in Migron. And the people who were with him were about 600 men. And Ahiah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the priest of Yahweh at Shiloh, was wearing an ephod. And the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. And between the passes by which Jonathan sought to cross over to the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp crag on the one side and a sharp crag on the other side. And the name of one was Bozez, and the name of the other was Sinai. Well, Jonathan was crossing over to the Philistines' military outpost. And we're talking about, there's Bozez, it's all kind of together here, but the crag is in Sinai and Bozez, which is right there. And that's actually it. You see, they got the crag won't go in one direction, the crag going in the other. There's cliffs on both sides, and those cliffs are called Bozez and Sinai. Verses 5 and 6. The one crag rose on the north opposite Michmash, the other on the south opposite Geba. Then Jonathan said to the young man who was carrying his armor, "Come, let us cross over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. Perhaps Yahweh will work for us, and Yahweh is not restrained to save by many or by few." Jonathan was going against the rules of engagement. No military operation should be undertaken without knowledge of those in command who are in charge. You got to know. Why do you think he's doing this? See, the thought about that, I came to the conclusion that he had some divine guidance in this undertaking here. It's the same divine guidance, I think, that said, don't tell your dad. He's the king and general of Israel. He said, no, just go, just leave. And I think Elohim is guiding him and doing this on a pure act of faithfulness. Just he and his armor bearer. Verses 7 through 10, his armor bearer said to him, "Do all that's in your heart. Turn yourself, and here I am with you according to your desire." Then Jonathan said, "Behold, we'll cross over to the men and reveal ourselves to them. If they say to us, 'Wait until we come to you,' then we'll stand in our place and not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come on up to us,' then we'll go up, for Yahweh has given them into our hands. This shall be the sign for us." So he's confident that if the Philistines come to him, he needs to say where he is. But if they say, "Come on up here," that's the sign he's going to defeat them. He had to be told this. Okay? It doesn't say that he was, but I think he says it was a sign. That's going to be the sign. So I think Elohim told him that would be the sign. Verses 11 and 12. When both of them revealed themselves to the garrison of the Philistines said, "Behold, Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden themselves." So the men of the garrison hailed Jonathan and his armor bearer and said, "Come up to us and we'll tell you something." Jonathan said to his armor bearer, "Come up after me, for Yahweh has given them into the hands of Israel." So Jonathan got the sign he's waiting for. This is the one. So they're going to win. Jonathan told his armor bearer, "Follow him. Elohim's given them into our hands." Verses 13 and 14. Then Jonathan climbed up on his hands and feet with his armor bearer behind him, and they fell before Jonathan. And his armor bearer put some to death after him. And after that first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor bearer made was about 20 men within about a half a furrow in an acre of land. Jonathan and his armor bearer killed 20 men in about an acre of land. That's pretty good. Verse 15, and there was a trembling in the camp and in the field and among all the people. Even the garrison and the raiders trembled, and the earth quaked. so that it became a great trembling. The quaking of the earth, that is probably a sign that Elohim is present with Jonathan. It was also a sign at Mount Sinai, Exodus 19, verse 18. Now, when Mount Sinai was all in smoke because Yahweh descended upon it in fire, its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked violently. It seems that Elohim will, in some way or another, direct the steps of those who acknowledge him in all their ways and seek him for direction. That's what he wants. He wants us to seek him for direction. Proverbs 3, very popular passage. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Do not let kindness and truth leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. So you will find favor and good repute in the sight of Elohim and man. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. So that's what Saul did. He leaned on his own understanding. Okay? Well, it makes sense to me. I got to get these offerings done to Elohim. And Samuel ain't here yet, so I better do it myself. No, you better not. Okay? He didn't trust in the Father. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he'll make your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahweh, turn away from evil. It'll be healing to your body, refreshment to your bones. Boy, those are good words. Those are good words. 1 Samuel 14, verses 16 and 17. Now Saul's watchmen in Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away. And they went from here and there. And Saul said to the people who were with him, Number now, and see who has gone from us. And when they had numbered, behold, Jonathan and his armor-bearer were not there. So Saul watched the Philistine army flee because of the earthquake. And Saul wanted a head count of his own men. And that's when he saw Jonathan and his armor-bearer have disappeared. Verse 18. Then Saul said to Ahiah, Bring the ark of Elohim here, for the ark of Elohim was at that time with the sons of Israel. And it happened while Saul talked to the priests that the commotion in the camp of the Philistines continued and increased. So Saul said to the priest, Withdraw your hand. Then Saul and all the people who were with him rallied and came to battle. And behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was great confusion. Saul and his army, they came to battle. The Philistines were battling against each other. I find that interesting. You know, Islam hates Israel. And they'd love to go to war with Israel. Why don't they? They're afraid of Israel. That's right. That's the only reason. They're afraid of them. They weren't afraid of them in 1948, were they? Weren't afraid of them in 1967, were they? No, but what happened? They are now. That's exactly right. But what do we see with Islam? You know what they do more often than anything? They fight with each other. They kill each other. Yeah. 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 I remember Dr. Bill Warner talking about Islamic wars that are taking place. And people ask, well, what should we do about that? He said, oh, that's easy. Give money and armaments to the one that's losing. I think that's a perfect answer. That's better than flushing it down that Ukraine toilet. But anyway. Okay, where was I? I finished verse 20. Okay, the Philistines were battling against each other. Elohim promises this in his Torah. In Exodus 23, verse 27, I'll send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion all the people among whom you come. And I'll make all your enemies turn their backs on you. And that's what he says. Just be obedient to him. He makes these things work out. Was it Patton said something to the effect of, we're not going to battle against weapons. We're going into battle against the hearts of men. Okay? That's the truth. Going to battle against the hearts of men, you beat that. If they get afraid, they get fearful, they're going to lose. And that's what Elohim, man's heart, it's just a instrument in his hand. Verses 21 and 22 and 23. Now the Hebrews who were with the Philistines previously, who went up with them all around the camp, even they also turned to be with the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. When all the men of Israel who had hidden themselves in the hill country of Ephraim heard that the Philistines had fled, even they also pursued them closely in the battle. So Yahweh delivered Israel that day, and the battle spread beyond Bethaven. The Israelites who were enslaved by the Philistines went to battle against them. All the men hidden in the hill country, they came out to battle. Elohim delivered Israel in battle by confusing and defeating the Philistines. Verse 24. Now the men of Israel were hard pressed on that day, for Saul had put the people under oath, saying, Cursed be the man who eats food before evening, and until I've avenged myself on my enemies. So none of the people tasted food. What kind of a silly curse is that to place on your fighting men? Don't eat anything. Before you go to battle, can't eat anything until he's avenged himself on all his enemies. Does that make any sense to you? You remember when you were little and you'd get something to eat and you'd be there at the swimming pool, your mom would say, no, don't go in the pool, you'll get stomach cramps. Does that ever make sense to you? I never got stomach cramps, but this is the same thing. I guess he's afraid they'll get stomach cramps if they go into battle. But all that's going to do is weaken his own people. Just going to weaken his own people. The wisdom of this guy is lacking severely. Verse 25, well then why did Elohim choose him? It's a curse on Israel. Exactly. Oh, you want a king? You don't want Elohim to be your king, do you? You don't want me to be your king? You want to get okay, I'll get you a king. Get you one just like you deserve. Verse 25, and all the people of the land entered the forest, and there was honey on the ground. When the people entered the forest, behold, there was a flow of honey, but no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard when his father put the people under oath. Therefore he put out the end of the staff that was in his hand and dipped it in the honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes brightened. Jonathan did not hear about this curse that his father made. He ate the honey in the forest, and the text says his eyes brightened, which is interesting. I believe it means he was energized. I remember asking Dr. Rex Russell, who wrote the book, What the Bible Says About Healthy Living. I said, what's the difference between honey and sugar? He said, I'm glad you asked me that. Sugar has absolutely no benefits physically, physiologically, at all. No nutrients at all, okay? Now, honey, so far, and this was 25 years ago he told me this, honey, so far, we've counted, I believe, 158 nutrients, different nutrients that are good for your body. 158. And it's a natural antibiotic. You can put it on a wound. It will keep it from getting infected. It's great stuff. He said if you look at it under a microscope, honey coming in contact with bacteria, the bacteria just literally explodes itself. Thought that was fascinating. But you have to get honey that's raw. You get raw honey. You don't want stuff that's been homogenized and pasteurized and blankerized or whatever eyes they do. Don't want the eyes on there. You need to get the raw stuff. And that's what stuff that's best for you. Honey is very good for you. And it lasts virtually forever. Well, they found honey in some of the tombs of the pharaohs. It's still honey. Okay, crystallized, I'm sure, but heated up and it'll liquefy. But anyway, Jonathan, he eats some of that honey. Verse 28, then one of the people answered and said, your father strictly put the people under oath, saying, cursed be the man who eats food today. And the people were weary. Then Jonathan said, my father has troubled the land. See now how many eyes have brightened because I tasted a little of this honey. And how much more if only the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies which they found. For now the slaughter among the Philistines has not been great. So Jonathan blames his father's curse for not fully defeating the Philistines. And I would say he had reason to do that. Verse 31, and they struck among the Philistines that day from Michmash to Ajalon, and the people were very weary. And the people rushed greedily upon the spoil, took sheep and oxen and calves, slew them on the ground, and the people ate them with the blood. Then they told Saul, saying, behold, the people are sinning against Yahweh by eating with the blood. And he said, you've acted treacherously. Roll a great stone to me today. They defeated the Philistines for about 20 miles. Then they took the spoils and ate of the blood of the animals too. So they went from Michmash to Ajalon. And Michmash, yeah, it's a pretty good stretch. Michmash here, Ajalon's here. So close to 20 miles, let's say. Saul saw what they were doing. You can't eat blood. You can't eat blood. You can't eat blood. That's not good. That's a breaking of Torah. It's a sin. We read that in the book of Acts. Acts 15. You remember what the deal was in Acts 15? The deal was in Acts 15, and a lot of Christian teachers misteach this as well as a lot of things, but the question was, should Gentiles have to be circumcised before they learn the Torah of Moses and learn of Messiah? See, if you hadn't been circumcised on the 8th day, they consider that's how you're a part of Israel. As a child, you're born into it. Be circumcised on the 8th day. Now we have a bunch of adult men who learn of Messiah and they want to learn of the Torah of Moses, but they're not circumcised. Well, the Pharisees, a lot of them were saying, no, they need to get circumcised first. That's quite a price to pay. Before you can learn something, you got to get circumcised. Well, what is it you're going to teach me? Well, I can't tell you until you're circumcised. Can you give me a hint? Nope. Can't give you a hint. You got to get circumcised. So this was a controversy, especially among the Gentiles. Okay, they weren't happy about this. And then they came to the conclusion. This was James, who was the head of the assembly there in Jerusalem, and the disciples. Peter was in on it. He said, Peter was in particular. He didn't like Gentiles. He hated Gentiles, and he said, we're putting a burden on them that we didn't have. Okay, we didn't have adult circumcision as a problem. Mommy and Daddy circumcised us on the 8th day. Which, by the way, on the 8th day of a baby's life, the vitamin K and prothrombin are at 110%, which that's what causes blood clotting, which makes it perfect. Good time to do it. That's what we did. We don't even remember it. Now we're asking them to get cut before they'll even can learn. Well, how do they know if it's worth it or not beforehand? So this is the conclusion they came up with. Therefore, it's my judgment we don't trouble those who are turning to Elohim from among the Gentiles. But here's a problem with the Gentiles. They're pagans. They worship false gods. They've been doing it all their lives. They can't do this overt paganism and be a part of and come into an assembly. So he says, we write to them that they abstain from things contaminated by idols. Okay? From fornication, which their priestesses were part of the draw on idol worship. Okay, the priestesses would do
part of the show.
Part of the show. There you go. Part of the show. Thank you. From fornication and from what strangled when they would sacrifice an animal to one of their gods, they would strangle it, and from blood. The part of the idol worship contained even covering yourself with blood. None of that. Can't do any of that and come into an assembly. Then he continued and said, for Moses from ancient generations has in every city those who preach him, since he is read in the synagogues every Sabbath. You can come join us in the Sabbath if you don't do those 4 things. Okay, those are the just blatant, open, obvious things that say you're a pagan. And you can't do those. You don't have to get circumcised. Then it continues, it says, and the people rejoiced. Yay. They thought that was great. Verse 34, and Saul said, disperse yourselves among the people and say to them, each one of you bring me his ox or his sheep and slaughter it here and eat. Do not sin against Yahweh by eating with the blood. So all the people that night brought each one his ox with him and slaughtered it there. And Saul built an altar to Yahweh. It was the first altar that he built to Yahweh. Then Saul said, let us go down after the Philistines by night and take spoil among them until the morning light. Let us not leave a man of them. And they said, do whatever seems good to you. So the priest said, let us draw near to Elohim here. So it appears that the priest didn't want them to pursue the Philistines that night, but to inquire of the Father. Verse 37, and Saul inquired of Elohim, shall I go down after the Philistines? Will you give them into the hand of Israel? But he did not answer him on that day. And Saul said, draw near here, all of you chiefs of the people, and investigate and see how this sin has happened today. For as Yahweh lives, who delivers Israel, though it is in Jonathan my son, he shall surely die. But not one of all the people answered him. Now Saul says, whoever caused this is because they broke my oath that we all took. They ate something before I said to. I don't care if it's my son Jonathan. Whoever did this, they're going to die. Well, that's the stupid oath. First of all, why didn't Elohim respond to him? Because he'd sinned. Yeah, he doesn't listen to the prayer of sinners. Scripture's very clear on that. Proverbs 28:9. For one, to those who turn their ear from listening to the Torah, even their prayer is an abomination. So this whole, sinner's prayer nonsense, sorry. Even if you're crying when you say it, it doesn't matter. If you're in sin, he doesn't hear your prayers. If you're not being obedient to the Torah, he's not listening to your prayers. I hate to, spring that on people, but that's what Scripture says. I didn't make the rules. So, not only that, but he thinks breaking that stupid oath that he made up, which was ridiculous, don't eat anything till all my enemies have been avenged. He thinks that breaking that is what did it. I said, wisdom eludes him. Verse 40. Then he said to all Israel, you shall be on one side, and I and Jonathan my son will be on the other side. And the people said to Saul, do what seems good to you. Therefore Saul said to Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, give a perfect lot. And Jonathan and Saul were taken, but the people escaped. And Saul said, cast lots between me and Jonathan my son. And Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, tell me what you've done. So Jonathan told him and said, I indeed tasted a little honey with the end of my staff that was in my hand. Here I am, I must die. So Saul doesn't have mercy on his son in this case. He didn't know anything about this stupid oath that he said. Verse 44, and Saul said, may Elohim do this to me and more also, for you shall surely die, Jonathan. But the people said to Saul, must Jonathan die, who's brought about this great deliverance in Israel? Far from it, as Yahweh lives, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground. For he has worked with Elohim this day. So the people rescued Jonathan, and he did not die. Verse 46, then Saul went up from pursuing the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. Because of Saul's arrogance, the Philistines were not defeated that day. Verse 7, now when Saul had taken the kingdom over Israel, he fought against all the enemies on every side, against Moab, the sons of Ammon, Edom, the kings of Zobah, and the Philistines. Wherever he turned, he inflicted punishment. And he acted valiantly and defeated the Amalekites and delivered Israel from the hands of those who plundered them. Now the sons of Saul were Jonathan and Ishvi and Malchishua. And the names of his 2 daughters were these, the name of the firstborn Merab and the name of the younger Michal. Saul fought a lot of battles with other inhabitants in the land. He's not going to have many peaceful days at all. Verse 50, and the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of the captain of his army was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle. And Kish was the father of Saul, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. Now the war against the Philistines was severe all the days of Saul. And when Saul saw any mighty man or any valiant man, he attached him to his staff. See, Saul, he didn't have any kind of peace when he was king. Not only did he fight the Philistines, but there's a lot of other groups that eventually became a part of the Arab nations that he fought against. He's in a war on a constant basis. And Saul, in his human wisdom here, if anybody looked like they were brave or strong, you're my bodyguard. You're another one of my bodyguards. Okay? That's what he did. Any questions on 1 Samuel 13:14? Historical. So I don't know, nothing to really, nothing controversial there. We see time and time again in the history of Israel the price of disobedience. He keeps showing that over and over again. Paul said these things were written for our benefit. Okay? And apparently, there's a lot of people in Scripture who lived and died who were not a part of the kingdom, who only lived and died for our benefit, so we could learn from them.